A unit of Japanese multinational Toyota has sold its stake in Kenyan information technology firm 7 Seas Technologies after the company went into a legal fight with the government over a 4.7 billion shilling contract. According to the 7 Seas' most recent regulatory filings with the Registrar of Companies, Toyota's Tusho recently transferred its whole 9.5% stake following a 2-year legal dispute between the government and 7 Seas over the termination of a contract to wire 98 state hospitals, which among other things allow for remote treatment or telemedicine. For more on these headlines, we're going to head to Nairobi, joined by Kalya Kitiony, who's an investment analyst. Kalya, thank you so much for joining us. Good afternoon. Start with the subsidies. What kind of impact is that having on state finances?
Thanks for having me. On the state subsidy, I think the impact that it's had is a deviation of allocation of resources from what are meant to go back to. Well, I think as you all know, this was primarily motivated by the elections, and I think it was a populist move to try to help the government get as many voters. So the impact is that there's funds that were meant to go somewhere it has to be allocated to the fuel subsidy.
Do you have a sense of what the public thinks of the subsidies? Are they, for instance, grateful that prices are low, or do they feel that it's not sustainable?
I think the public saw through the motive behind the subsidy, and everyone knew that this was something that was meant or targeted specifically for the elections. And it is something that came about during the campaigns quite a number of times. And so the general public do not anticipate the subsidies will last for long. Instead, you're waiting to see whether the prices will go up in the near future.
Have you heard anything further from the IMF on the loan deal? We understand the IMF wants those subsidies removed in Kenya.
Yes. As part of the terms for the loan agreement with the IMF, they want a review of the pricing mechanism for when it comes to the fuel prices. And the motivation, the reason behind this is that they want an alignment with their approved budget. So because of the subsidy problem, this is not something that was initially budgeted for. And as mentioned earlier, it meant that resources had to be removed from somewhere else to be brought into the fuel pricing system, and what the IMF wants, whatever it is agreed upon, we do not have to move away from the allocated budgets.
Finally, do you have a sense of President-elect Ruto? I know he's going through challenges to the election result, but if he was to be sworn in, do you think he would maintain those subsidies? Interestingly,
when you look at the Kalya manifesto, which is the coalition with which President-elect Ruto provides. When you look through the manifesto, there's no mention of subsidies anywhere. There's no mention of subsidization of anything. And so do not anticipate the subsidies to continue because it's a vocal critic of the subsidy when it was announced. But I expect him to have a look at the tax regime, especially when it comes to fuel prices.
All right, Kalya Kitiony, investment analyst in Nairobi, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate you talking to us about the latest from Kenya.